portals. In this video you will learn how to use light portals, understand the limitations of their use, see that they can dramatically increase quality given a fixed number of samples, and see they're especially useful for indoor environments lit by environmental lighting. So to talk about portals, we need to talk first about cycles and how the lighting works. Light rays are fired out from the camera, the active camera, until they hit a light source. Now this sounds a bit counterintuitive until you imagine, well, that light source could be projecting light in any direction. And to make sure we don't waste time, the rays are fired from the camera so that we are capturing light that only the camera can see. With a lamp, Blender knows where the light source is, so only fires rays that will eventually hit the light source, and this often ends up with a nice clean image. Now with emissive materials, Blender doesn't know where the light source is, so when the camera fires those rays, some of them will never reach a light source, and this introduces more noise. With environmental lighting, when you've got a sky map in the scene, or an HDR, high dynamic range environmental lighting, in an interior with only windows letting light in, the rays bounce around a lot and only a few actually manage to go out the window and reach the light source. This introduces a lot of noise in the final image, given a certain number of samples. So how do portals help? Well, portals help by telling Blender where to aim those rays. This produces much less noise in the final image. However, they do have some limitations. Portals are a cycles lighting feature, which means that they won't work externally to Blender and they won't work with the Blender internal rendering engine. They increase light calculation time. However, that's offset by the fact you don't have to render as quickly, so they produce much less noisy environments. Portals only work with environmental light. Using them otherwise can reduce quality, and they have little impact if you put something in the way. So let's go have a look at a couple of examples before we hop into Blender. So this is an emissive plane that's placed outside that hole in this box, and there is no portal. If we put a portal in the way, well, it actually looks worse and noisier. So that's an example of it not working, and in fact making things worse with an emissive plane that's outside. So what happens if we bring that emissive plane so it's faking being the window? Well, this is with no portal, it's a relatively clean image, and an emissive plane acting as the window and a portal there to guide it. Well, you can see it actually makes it worse again. Now let's have a look at an environmental light. So at this point, the environment is just white to be consistent, and there is no portal. You can see that that image, it's very hard to even work out what that is. Is it a cube or is it just a bunch of noise? Well, with a portal, it makes a phenomenal amount of difference. And just for example, this is a sun lamp placed outside with 1,000 samples, and you can see, yes, the lighting's slightly differently because it's not an environmental light, it's a point light source in the sky, being a sun lamp. It's still noisier than the previous one. So some examples of when you stick something in the way, and we're going to see some familiar faces here. Hey, there's some bunnies and lamps and bowling pins and a chess set. So we have 4 different scenes here that we're going to run through and show you the difference. The top 2 are with and without a portal, and so are the bottom 2. However, the bottom 2 have a glass window in the way. So let's go have a look at these in a bit more detail. So this is the scene rendered with a portal. So you can see it's only 30 samples in this case, so there is still noise in the scene. It took about 30 odd minutes to do this particular scene render on a GTX 980, just to give you an idea of times taken even at 30 samples, because there's a lot of complexity in this particular scene. Now if we see it without a portal, you can see that it's much more noisy, especially in the darker areas of the scene. Now, it changes slightly when you go and put a window in. So at the moment, that's just a hole in the wall. If we go and put a window in, well, much less light actually enters the room because it's bouncing in and out of that glass, so less light comes in. So one of these has a portal, and this next one does not. Well, did you see the difference there? This is before, and this is after. Well, I struggled to see the difference there, and that just goes to show that if you stick something in the way like glass, that you think, well actually if it's an environmental light and yada yada yada, the glass, it will help guide the rays. No, unfortunately, certainly at the moment, that doesn't help at all. In fact, in this case, it seems to make no difference whatsoever. So let's now hop on over into Blender and play with some light portals. So let's start off with a basic cube in our scene. So I've opened up a brand new Blender file and we'll take it from there. The first thing that I'm going to do is remove the lamp from this basic scene because it's no longer required. And we're going to add a different light source. So we're going to go to the world properties, we're going to change the color of the world to a white, and just go ahead, hit render and see how that comes out. That's exactly what I'll be expecting for it to happen. This cube is uniformly lit from the outside, so we can't see any details because it's white all around. Perfect. So let's hop back into the 3D view and let's make this cube much bigger. So I'm going to hop into edit mode and scale it up by, let's make it 10 times bigger. And then we can exist in it. And I'm going to lift it up by 10 on the Z-axis too, and that should place it on the ground. Excellent, so we can easily be inside here, and if I switch to the camera mode, I'm inside it. So we've created a fake building very quickly. The next thing I'm going to do is subdivide this cube, so I'm going to come out of the camera mode, I'm going to subdivide this cube a couple of times. So I'm going to use the tool shelf here, and I want it so I can just remove some of these faces. So I'm going to go ahead here and remove a zigzag pattern going down, and those two there, why not? In fact, let's just remove those there. Perfect. So let's delete, I want the faces gone, so there we go. There we go, there is our funky window in the wall. And the final thing we're going to do before we actually start playing inside is to add a modifier which is a solidify, which will make the walls for us. And that's under generate, solidify, and I'm going to increase the thickness to 0.1. Now one of the things you have to watch out here for is if you look through is that there's a bit of a curve going on. And if we have a look, in fact this is a very thick cube, so I'm just going to make it maybe 0.4 so we can see more. What's happening there is it's moving around the edge. Can we see in wireframe mode more detail? It's not exaggerating it that much, but basically if you tick even thickness, it will make sure that the thickness is applied evenly throughout the model. So let's hop inside, and I'm going to move my camera about so I can see more. So I'm going to use the walk around feature. So we've got our window there. This is quite a large room, and I think I've just gone through. So I'm just going to come out of wireframe and do that again, so I know when I pass through. And I might want a wider angle lens. In fact, I think I do in this case. So I'm going to go ahead and change the camera properties so it has a wider focal length. I'm going to go for 80. There we go, we can see much more. So let's see how this looks at the moment. There we go, we have quite a noisy scene. Now, on the render results down at the bottom, I'm going to change where it says slot 1 to slot 2 so we can compare in a few moments. And I'm just going to make this a bit larger so we can compare them much much more closely. So let's now hop to the 3D view. And now in order to go ahead and add in a portal, it's actually a type of lamp. So I'm going to add the portal here, and I'm going to cover all 4 windows with it. If they're close together, you can cover them all together. Obviously, the number of portals, if you have too many of them, may add up and cost you more in calculation time. But in this case, we can just cover this middle square because it doesn't really matter compared to the other ones around it. We could, of course, add 4 portals. So let's go and add a lamp of type area. And in the properties for the lamp, we can change it so it says portal. That's all we need to do in terms of setting that up, apart from we need to rotate it round. So I'm going to rotate it on the y-axis, and I'm just looking down there, so it's going to be y by 90. And you see that dotted line, that white dotted line, now orange, coming out of it. That's the direction it wants to face. The light is going that way. So the final thing here is to do the size. Now there's an option over in the properties to have it square or rectangular, so you can have it different proportions. I'm going to leave it set square since it's there, and I'm going to just go up and up and up. I think this is end up going to be 10. Nope, 12. There we go. So 12 covers the entire thing. I'm going to add a little extra. And now when we go back inside the building and hit render, we should end up with a much less noisy image. Now I've got the default settings here, so that's 10 samples, and the difference between that and that was a great example. I didn't switch to slot 2 before hitting render, so let's just render it without. So there we go. This one is much noisier in slot 2 than without. Now one thing that should be noted at this point is that the rough render did take just over 3 seconds, and the other one was, I think it was 5 and a bit seconds. Well, we can quickly go and check it. We go to slot 1, I'm going to turn my area lamp back on and then render again. Now these aren't optimal squares for this particular render, they need to be made a bit smaller. So there you go, 5.6. So it's taken a bit longer, but let's see if doubling the sample count on slot 3 makes a difference, because I don't think it will. I think that the one that's 10 samples with a portal is going to be much cleaner than 20 samples without a portal. So it should take at least twice as long to do. This is the one with the portal at 20 samples. And let's go to slot 4 and do the one without the portal, just to demonstrate that it's still going to be noisy. And we can see straight away it's going to be much more noisy. So let's just have a look through these then. So we've got slot 1, which was 10 samples with a portal. Slot 2 is 10 samples without a portal. Slot 3 is 20 samples with a portal. And slot 4 is 20 samples without a portal. So if we compare the one that's taken nearly the same time as our first one with a portal, you can see it's still much cleaner. So now we understand about portals and how to put them into a scene, I've got a small challenge for you. I would like you to add some portals to your interior. So add an environment texture, or indeed just adjust the world surface like I did in the example. Hide or remove any other light sources, so it's a fair comparison. Render your interior at about 20 samples. Render your interior about 20 samples first for a baseline. Add light portals to those windows, and then render the scene and share in the discussions the difference it's made. Pause the video now and give that a go. Okay guys, welcome back. Let's go and add some portals to our interior. So I've made sure my camera's in roughly the right position. I managed to make it a little bit wonky. And the first thing that I'm going to do is do the render, but make sure the render settings are fair. So let's just check the number of samples. The number of samples is at 50. Let's drop it down to 20. Go ahead and hit render. The moment that's done, I haven't added my environmental lighting yet or removed the other lights from the scene. I'll be back in a few moments. There we go, I've added an environmental light. It's just going to be a white one for the moment, and now I've added that, I'm just going to see how that renders out. Looking pretty noisy at the moment. It'll be interesting to see whether it makes a difference once we add light portals, and the reason why I say that is because there's a lot of gaps in the building at the moment, which may cause or may not cause some problems. But there we go, that gives us a nice base level. Now I'm going to go ahead and add portals to the rest of these. Now I've got two choices in this particular case. I could go and add light portals to the original mesh and then re-append them into the scene. Or I could stretch one along this entire wall, for instance, and then the rest of groups of two. In this case, I am going to do that rather than modifying the original, having to re-import and change over these bits. Not going to do that at the moment. And there we go, so I've added several portals into my scene. I think that for future iterations I probably will make the portal within the models themselves, so that I never have to redo this, but for the sake of this particular model I've gone ahead and done it anyway, and I'm just going to go ahead and render the image. So I've overwritten my original, which is pretty silly. Okay, so straight away I can see that this particular render, I inadvertently overwrote my first one for comparison. This one's taking significantly less time. I can see straight away it's quicker. The rendering with the light portals took 1 minute 24, and this one's already on 24 seconds, as it's counting up, and it's I don't know about the quality though. This is going to be one of these things where I'm not sure whether the big holes in here are letting enough light in anyway that we won't see much of a difference. But now it's rendered, let's go and have a look. So I'm just going to make this as big as I possibly can for comparison. So we're looking through the doorway here, and this is with portals. Without, with. Okay, I think in this particular instance, portals aren't going to help us until I've got this roof sealed in. I can do a few checks to see whether that is the case, but otherwise I think that's just not letting, or it's letting enough light in already that the camera is finding a light source. And that's especially true at the moment because the camera is facing these big gaps, so there is a lot of light that will naturally just bounce off of these floor bits, etc., and automatically end up hitting this skybox in the background. That's something to bear in mind. The areas perhaps where that's not the case, where it doesn't have a great big hole in the wall, may be slightly different. So I'm going to move the camera around and just check that hypothesis as well. So I'm just rendering here without light portals, and then I'll enable them and compare. And here's the final render with those light portals turned on. Once it's finished, I'll compare the two and see if my hypothesis that facing a giant light source anyway with the camera is going to mitigate most of the benefits of a light portal. Okay, so looking at the two, I can quite comfortably say at this point I think enough light is entering our scene that we don't particularly have a problem lighting it. So with that in mind, I'm not going to add any more light portals at the moment in my particular scene. I think if I didn't have quite so many windows, we might be able to see more of an effect if this whole building didn't have this great big open archway at the top as well. So I will keep the portals in mind for my particular model. If it starts to get noisy, I can start adding them in later, and I will start adding them into the actual pieces themselves, so when I link the more highly detailed models in, it will bring across the portal information as well. I'd love to see your models. Did using light portals make your scene less noisy? Did it make no difference at all like it has done mine here? Please post in the discussions, and I will see you guys in the next lecture.